Why is Jesus the only way to God? The only way of salvation? Well, a number of years ago, a famous talk show host made a proclamation on her highly popular TV show. She said that she could not believe that Jesus, in fact, I think she said it something like this, that Jesus can't be the only way to God. That's not possible. In other words, her belief, she believed that there are many paths to God, even though she claims to be Christian. And of course, a lot of the Christians that she says this to, like the Christian pastors and leaders, they give usually no response to that at all, or a very weak one. You see, their response to that should have been, and I'm going to give one to that, because that's a kind of a popular position today, that there are many paths to God. No, there's not. You see, if you take those paths that they claim, they won't lead you to God, and that's the problem. Well, how do you know the path? Well, in Acts chapter 4, it was actually Acts chapter 3 and Acts chapter 4, you see the birth of the new church. Jesus had rose from the dead some 50 days earlier, and he, in a sense, handed the keys of the kingdom over to his disciples, and he told them, now you go and preach my message. Wait in Jerusalem until the coming of the Holy Spirit, and he's going to empower you. The promise of the Father that I told you. Well, in Acts chapter 2, that exactly happened, that the Holy Spirit came and empowered them. Peter and them got up and he preached a powerful message. Well, in chapter 3, they were on their way to the temple. And this is kind of an interesting story, because we saw this man who had been crippled since birth. We later find out this man was over 40 years old. Interesting enough that man had been sitting at that temple gate, and Jesus passed by there many times and didn't heal him. There could be a lot of reasons why. My guess is that maybe the man didn't believe. But this particular time when Peter came, Peter said that he had faith to be healed. And he said, hey, silver and gold I don't have, but what I do have, this I will give to you. And he healed him. Now, as a result of that man's healing, people came to faith in the Lord. Now, there was another side of this story, is that the Pharisees and the high priests, remember, they just killed this man that Peter and him was preaching. They killed him. They thought he was dead. And now all of a sudden, you got fanatics preaching about a dead man that we saw die. Remember, they were at the crucifixion too. They mocked and scoffed Jesus. Now here is his disciples preaching in this man's name. But worse, they're showing signs and wonders. The very signs and wonders the man they killed, that they had hoped stayed dead, performed as well. They have a problem. Well, they arrested Peter and John, and the next day, as they were interrogating them, Peter makes this statement. Let me read it to you. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Peter makes this statement in verse 12. There is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to men, and we must be saved by it. Now, Peter makes this proclamation. There is no other name. There is no other salvation. Why is that? The reason is that no other name, no other deity, no other faith, no other religion saved. Remember I said if you follow all these other paths that supposedly lead to the same God, they don't. But Peter and him gave a living example of the living resurrected Christ. But he also gave a living gospel, a message of truth that saves, that deals with the sin nature of man, and the solution for the sin nature of man that changes. And there's only one faith. There's only one message. There's only one way that man can get to the living God, and that's through Jesus Christ. And we are those vessels in which we preach that message. And though this talk show host calls herself a Christian, clearly she's not, and has never demonstrated herself to be. But that's okay. As Peter said, there's only one message, only one name. Alright guys, look, that's today's morning word. Till next time, I'll see you then.